always bring light and love to everything we do, and that's the stuff that
That's what we do. We do the stuff. It's kind of becoming my it's kind of becoming my line. I do stuff.
I do stuff.
It's not very descriptive, mind you, I suppose, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting, right? Because when we've talked about this before, like, there's so many components to all of the things that we do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, how do you then make that into something, concise? It's like, it's so hard.
Yeah, because we both have a lot of different sort of modalities. That's how I ended up with the signature session, because I used to do just Reiki, right? So I had a Reiki session, and it would be like an hour session kind of thing. And now I've now put it in as a signature session, and it's more like 2 hours instead of a 1 hour session. And it's because I pull on all my different stuff, right? All my stuff. Because there's, like 3 or 4 energy modalities. There's the Celtic shamanism, so there's the soul retrieval and the ceremonial healing and all that stuff. There's sound healing. There's, just like you have all those things too. And, all of your own different modalities as well. And so, I always look at it like it's a toolbox.
Yes.
And then I just say to my clients, I just do what I'm told. I have my toolbox of stuff, and I'm just doing what I'm told. The guides tell me what to do when they get there. So,
yeah,
it's amazing how things evolve.
It is. And that whole idea too of just, doing what we're told, or just being able to listen. It's amazing what comes from that, and I think we've talked about this before, but just that idea of, I will be in session and somebody will be like, say that again. And I'm like, okay.
Guys, what did I just say? Tell me what I just said.
There's a lot of, that inspirational channel that comes through, and it's like, well, what did you hear? Right?
You're busting yourself, that, eh?
But again, it's one of those things that also, for the clients who are, because I'm not like openly all spiritual work with all of my clients, because not everybody, is interested in that or has that kind of in their journey at this point. But for those that are, like, it's a really good sign for them to recognize that this is not just, this other person talking, but that there is something, more meaningful coming through.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it always it's funny because I laugh often. Something will come out of my mouth and I'll be like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. I'll be like, oh yeah. Right. And then I'm hearing, that's for you too. And I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, all of this work is as wonderful as it is just to be able to do it. It is also so inspirational for us too, right? Because there's so much that comes through for others that is very much reflected right back.
Yeah.
Right. And so we're all growing on this journey together. And I think that's just amazing.
Yeah. We're all in this together, guys. Okay. So, so it was quite a week.
Yeah.
I think it was better than the week before for me. I think last week was pretty good. It had its ups and downs, but the week before was a little bit more up and down.
Yeah, I think the week before was the crisis one.
Yeah.
Whereas this one has been, we're still just coming to the end of it, like between tomorrow and the next day has it switches over in there.
Mm-hmm.
But like the, this one was about control, right? And so, you know, this kind of moving from the need to kind of control things,
Mm-hmm.
right? What's going on right now that I feel like I have to control? And depending on, you know, a bunch of other things in your design, you might feel that control a little bit differently, but it's still that kind of, you know, what am I doing right now to try to feel like I have control? What part of, you know, we talk about like
Yeah,
the
because it's
shadow
an
part.
illusion, right? Control is an illusion.
Well, exactly.
So,
So of course it's
although we try to grasp at this thing called control, it's still that illusion of things, right?
well, and that's it. And so, you know, I think too, we get so caught up in I don't want to be controlling, but I want to have control over this, that, or the other. So can we recognize kind of those moments where either we are trying to grasp desperately at control or we're trying to rebel against the control of someone else, right? Because both sides of that are going to play into what's going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, how can we take that and recognize that it is all perception, right?
Yeah.
And it's really about moving into, you know, authority where authority is deserved and then into valor, right? And being able to really open ourselves and not be so afraid of, you know, stepping into love and
Mm.
stepping into connection,
Well, that,
right? Because that's really what control is how do I manage those things in a way that feels comfortable and safe.
yeah, yeah. Hello, Annie. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, hello. Welcome.
So I am going to pick a card because they told me to. Whoops. Apparently this is
Okay.
the one
Yeah,
we need.
definitely pick a card. Good. I want to chat really quick though about what we're coming into because I think that it's going to be important having the switch over in the middle of the week. Oh, this is
Prioritize self-care.
Oh,
You do so
perfect.
much for others. It's time for you to experience the love you deserve. Let others help you. Yeah, that has been a
Aw,
big theme. So
yeah,
I guess they wanted to bring that forward. Mm-hmm.
good.
Self-care.
Self-care. Yeah. Well, and it's okay. So, what I wanted to bring up about the next gate, this is
Yes,
so
please.
great, right? It's the gate of shock, but it's about being able to respond to kind of all of the chaos and stuff that we've been feeling and figuring out like where do I go from here. And what's beautiful about it is there is this kind of on the shadow side we have agitation,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that shows up when we're not trusting, when kind of that idea of like our whole faith in life is just being crushed, right? And it's tough
Yeah.
because we can be pulled into wanting to shut down, feeling more depressed, or lashing out potentially, right?
Yeah.
Because these are fear
Of
responses
course. Yeah.
when things are not working out or when we perceive that things are not working out. And what's beautiful is that in order to move through this shadow, we move into initiative, right? And what does that look like? And being able to bring in our own individual creativity,
Right.
right? And so there's an air of competition in this, but it's like, can we move from that kind of, you know, those meaner aspects of competition and trying to better somebody into really how do I put that energy into creatively becoming more of who I want to be?
Right. So it's almost, I mean, if you have to use the word competition, it's like competing with yourself, right? How do you become
Yeah.
better with time? That requires
Yeah.
that
And then how can
self-reflection
we,
and yeah.
well, and that's it, right? And so, you know, it's also often called the gate of arousing, right? And it's that idea of what is what is arousing us, what is bringing in that individual creative energy in order to move us towards awakening,
Mm-hmm.
right? And towards becoming that that which we truly are.
There's something about that word
Right?
becoming
Mhm.
that I just like, I don't know. It's just, it's a beautiful word, becoming, because it's so creative and yet
Mhm.
full of hope or something. I don't
Yeah.
know. Does that make sense? It just feels uplifting, the word becoming. When we talk about, we're becoming into something very creative,
Yeah. Well, and I love it too, right? I talk a lot about the whole transformation between caterpillar and butterfly, right? Because the caterpillar has to completely dissolve everything that it is. And yet, in that is everything from the moment the caterpillar is born, is everything it needs to become the butterfly, right? And so in that sense, that becoming, it's not that it's something beyond us or something outside of us or something that we don't already possess, but it's truly embracing what that is for us and also recognizing what we have to let go in order to become.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
That's the hard part for so many. Letting go. How do we let go?
For everyone. I don't know anybody who's like, yeah, just die before I die. I'm good with this.
Yeah. Dark night of the soul stuff we're talking here, folks. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, ego death is not a one and done.
No. It's a slow progressive step by step.
Yeah, most definitely.
Indeed.
Yeah. So just be aware if that's coming up for you in the next little bit, right? If you're starting to feel like, all faith is gone. Right?
We are becoming.
Right? Yeah, we are becoming. And what do I need to bring into my experience? What do I need to initiate in order to move into that becoming?
Another word, initiate. That one feels heavy because it's like initiation is like a new beginning, which usually requires the release of something else. Right? So that can be.
Well, I mean, yeah, I use initiate only because for this particular gate, the gift is initiative.
Right.
Right? That ability to get something started.
Okay.
Right? And so when we talk about initiate, I don't mean it in the sense of, being initiated into something or anything like that. I mean it in the sense of what can I embrace within myself that's going to bring that creativity and move me forward. There's that initiative in there. We are initiating
action
process.
or process. Yeah. More so like a motivation in terms of that. That's the context we're using it for. Yeah. Nice. So how was everyone's week? Let's share. Okay. Let us know how your week was in the comments. All right. And we'll go ahead and pick a card, as we often do. We pick a topic or a theme that we talk about. And we do it from this deck this year, James Van Prague's The Soul's Journey. They're lesson cards, so we learn our lessons every week. Let's see.
Universe, what lesson do you have for us this week?
What do you need to learn this week? Let's see. That one, eh? Oh my. All right. This is a heavy one. Okay. Failure. I understand that a mistake is only an opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Failure. Ooh, it actually goes really well with this one. It goes really well with this one too. Self-esteem.
Yeah. Well,
leave that one in though.
I know failure gets such a bad rap, but failure's not really failure unless you stop there.
Exactly. Fail, right? First attempt in learning. That acronym? Yeah. Very much.
Yeah.
It can be a beautiful thing, indeed. So we want to say hello to Gerald. Hello, Gerald. He's going to be on the show with us in a couple of weeks. We're looking forward to that. He says initiation is an important stepping stone in growth. Awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
And he says last week was ups and downs. Take time to breathe and recenter. Indeed. Indeed. Best thing. And he also says failure gets a bad rap. Indeed. Love it, Tanis. Yeah. For sure.
And that's the thing. You know, failure in and of itself is a learning opportunity. Right? And so it's interesting because immediately the first thing that comes to mind for me was like, oh, well, that fits so perfectly with my line 3, right? Because it's trial and error. Right? I'm going to get it wrong. I'm going to get it wrong a bunch of times, but I'm going to learn so much from getting it wrong.
I think I have that somewhere in my chart. I'm pretty sure.
People without that line might not embrace it so readily. But that being said, you know, we talk about failure as a definitive.
Like that has to be the end.
Yeah. And as long as we look at it that way, it does feel horrible, right? But if we could look at failure as like just an opportunity to learn, right? Then all of a sudden it's, you know, it is exactly that. That's, you know, it's funny because Gerald had said initiation is an important stepping stone in growth, but so is failure, right? They both are. And we fail and then we initiate.
Right.
And then maybe we fail and then we initiate, right?
It is a good cycle.
Good cycle. And so failure doesn't ever have to be the end result. It's just one more stepping stone.
Yep, for sure. Gerald says failure is seen as negative. You just found a way that it doesn't work. Exactly. It doesn't work that way. But have you tried all of these other ways, right? Exactly. Yes. And check out Gerald's YouTube. Okay. Tarot Stash. It's awesome. So awesome. Yeah, I think, you know, we get, it's gotten a bad rap through our programming because we, you know, you fail at school, there's like a negative consequence. You have to stay back and you don't get your friends, right? So that's what comes to mind when I think about where that end thing, where did we get that from, that idea that failure has to be an end? And I think in many ways that is kind of part of it, is that it starts, we look at it as a, we've lost all our friends. If we fail, right, then we get repercussions, we get reprimanded, we get consequences to failure, which, you know, consequences is just a learning as well, right?
Well, and again, there's, you know, we talk about the duality, the two sides of every coin. It also means you get to meet new friends. And now you have more friends, and now you have an opportunity to do it differently, to learn it differently, to experience it differently, right? But that piece of it being the end, you know, that's only the case if we move into, you know, what I was talking about, like with the transit that we're moving into, right? And that lack of faith in life and in the process of life.
Yeah.
Right? If we give up, yeah, then it's the end.
Yeah.
Right? But we have a choice not to.
We have a choice to become.
Yeah.
A big hello to Mel.
Hi,
hey,
Mel.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, how does failure show up for you guys, and how do you perceive it?
Yeah.
What are some of the, you know, wins when failure is concerned, and what are some of the, oh, this is tough kind of experiences?
Yeah. Yes, a choice to evolve. Very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Most definitely.
And there's also, it's bringing to mind the card. Oh my gosh, look at that. It's right on top. All right. This one. This is a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Oh my God.
That was right on top of the deck, guys. You can't make this stuff up. I'm telling you.
Right. But just thinking about like how many times a door has closed or something is a potential failure, and then wow, it opens into something so much more amazing, right? That we wouldn't have even seen if we hadn't failed.
Well, and
Before.
sometimes, it pushes you into this new energy that creates something that you might not have been able to create if you were stuck in that old energy, right? And so it's hard though, because we're so programmed to not like change. And so when we have failure and we have to change, we're like, so I think it's kind of, there's a link there somewhere about that, about not liking failure because we don't like change. And we've talked about change before on the show a lot. And
definitely.
Yeah.
Well, and even thinking of it in the sense of what we were talking about earlier about that idea of ego death, right? This part of me that said this was the way to do it and this was going to be right, and I failed. It's not, it's everybody else's fault and it should have happened. It should have been fine. And I should have been, like that kind of, the ego gets in there and it's like, it doesn't want to do it differently.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a beautiful opportunity, as Annie says, to evolve, because in that evolution, that ego has to get put in its place, right? And say, we're not always right. We don't always know, right? I love in the Tao, he talks about, oh golly, it's in like, I want to say in the 70s, it's like way later in the Tao, but he says, and let me see if I can get this right. Not knowing is true knowledge. Perceiving that we know is, I want to say error, but like the idea of illusion or, right?
Well, that's like, there was one quote I had, and I don't even know where I saw it now, but it was, half of being smart is knowing what you're dumb at. It brings to mind that, right? Because half of releasing the ego is about knowing that you don't know everything, and that you're just stepping into always learning. And I think being open to being that lifelong learner is so important. I graduated 3 new Reiki masters this weekend, which is always fun. And they did great. And in that class, we talk about what a master is. And one of the things is about being the lifelong learner and being, observing and learning from that. And being committed to being a lifelong learner means you're going to fail. It doesn't mean that it's all like easy peasy stuff. What it means is that you're willing to learn and you're willing to delve into those things that you might not know anything, and feel that uncomfortableness of being the newbie, right?
Yeah. Well, and if you can allow yourself to embrace that, then that discomfort with not knowing isn't so bad.
Yeah. We often will build it up, because all of us have had those experiences where there's, you're the newbie in the room and everyone's staring at you, and you're like, we've all had that kind of experience. And so we always associate it with worst case scenario, of course, right? Because our brain is linear and we want to grasp onto that.
Oh, we could so get into the brain and the
it likes to do that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, and the brain is very definitive.
Yeah.
Right? It's very much, we talk about this before, left brain has to judge, has to label, has to have the story to go along with everything. And it doesn't give a damn if that story is based in any kind of reality.
Right.
So the story just becomes the narrative, and then everything flows from there. And so when we recognize the narrative that the brain is telling us about failure, right, we're able to come back and go, wait a minute, do I really want to own that story? Is that really true for me? Yeah, she's
I'm watching our mascot here. Would you like to
she's having a moment. I'm just gonna help her out there.
Would you like to
She does
tell
not
us?
take failure for anything.
okay.
That cat is the clumsiest cat I know, and she has fallen off of so many things. And she's just like, let me do that again.
So not so much at the learning what she did for what she did.
Yeah, well.
Would you like to tell people about our mascot?
Oh, Robbie? Yeah, Rabia. So Rabia is named after Sufi saint, Rabia of Basra. And she is, well, she's phenomenal. There's so many amazing stories and poems and writings from her, very much about this idea of ego death and what it is to truly understand who we are and who we're meant to be. And so that's her namesake. And she actually started out as my eldest's cat, but she will not leave my side. She's always here and always with me. And so much so that I have a little Easter egg on my website, and it's all about my office assistant, Rabia. So if you guys are interested in seeing a web page all about the cat,
She's
go to.
So there's a reason she has her on the website, guys. She's in all her sessions with her clients. She comes down and works with her clients and all of that stuff. So she's like a little therapy kitty.
She's a little therapy cat, and it's amazing. Sometimes she'll just sleep on the chair on the other side of the room, and sometimes she will come and lay on my lap, and other times she will try to lay on the computer. And we talk about animals being little Reiki masters.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
There are times where she will sense that, that energy needs to go, and it's like, oh, my little love, she really is helping the energy. And I love that.
Yeah. So Jen doesn't just have the one cat, actually. This is her working cat.
She's the working cat. I will actually say to her, okay, Rabia, it's time to go to work. And she will run down to the office.
She's a guide and a helper, eh? That's what
yeah.
Gerald
she
says.
Really is.
She definitely is. She's a beautiful energy, that little one.
Yeah.
There she is. Hey, Rose.
Yeah. You gonna come say hi? Do you want to come on down?
We're talking about you. You gonna show your face?
She had to have a snack first.
Oh, okay, snack first. There we go.
That's what's going on. You gonna come up and say hello?
There she is.
I love you.
She is a little helper for sure.
Yeah.
And the other one is Shaman. He helps with other stuff.
He does other work.
It's definitely
and Cora, who is an absolute love as well. So
she's all about love. Cora's like goddess energy. That's what she's like. Yeah. And Annie says, such a beauty.
Annie. Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we talk about failure, and what's interesting for me is even thinking about when things get in our way, right? And that idea of, like try again, kind of thing. There will be times where she wants to be right here, and I'm in the middle of talking to somebody, or I'm in the middle of doing something, and it's like, no, baby, you can't be here. Put her down. She's here. Put her down. Yeah. She's here. Like, she doesn't give up when she's like, nope, that's where I'm supposed to be. Yeah. And it doesn't matter how many times I put her down. I'm going to come right back until you recognize that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's such a beautiful reminder for us too, that just because something blocks us or something gets in the way, if it's something we're meant to do, try again.
Well, there's the other side of that though, right? Because when we get blocked with something regularly, we need to feel into that and see if it is something we're meant to do. Because I know there's times when I've been blocked and I'm getting resistance, and I'm like, maybe I'm not supposed to do this today. And if I back off,
that's a different energy for sure.
Yeah. I mean, there is the being resilient, which is kind of what you're talking about, being resilient and learning. And maybe I'm not supposed to do it like this. I'm supposed to do it like this, right? Instead of this, and just sort of figuring out the nuances of how to do it. But there's also that, you hit that wall and you're like, those days when you're trying to get out of the house and you can't find your keys, and then you go to fill your water bottle and it spills everywhere, and you're supposed to be out the door like 5-10 minutes ago, and you're busy trying to find your keys and get your water and get your bag together, and everything seems to be in the way. There's usually a reason for that, right? There's a resistance there. Sometimes it's just that we weren't supposed to be on that particular corner that we have to go through at that particular time. And then other times it's that resistance that you're not really supposed to go wherever you think you're supposed to be going. That's happened to me too, you know?
Well, and I think that comes back more to being able to really tap into understanding what, feeling into our intuition and feeling into, what's right for us at any given moment. There are times where I'll get wait. It's like, okay, I'll wait.
Mhm.
Right. And then there's other times where I get wait and it's like, well, no, I've got to do this. I've got to do that. I can't wait, blah, blah, blah. And then I find all that stuff happens.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Right. So we often are given that opportunity to listen to that, small, quiet voice. And yet if we don't, sometimes things are put in our way to stop
Right.
us.
Especially when it's really something
Right.
important. Like, I've heard of cases, of course, where, somebody's same kind of example. They're trying to get out of the house. This happens and this happens, and they get a phone call that they have to take, and and they're like 15 minutes late, and they realize when they do finally get out the door that there was a car accident 15 minutes before. So they would have been involved in the car accident had they not been delayed. So those kinds of things happen too, which is. I mean, it's unfortunate that there had to be a car accident at all, but obviously somebody was watching out for that person to not be in the car accident. So there's those kinds of things too. So sometimes, and that's that blessing in disguise,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Well, and that's it. Like I've had that exact experience with the car accident piece and everything else, where I was told wait, and I needed to go because I had an appointment to sign for the mortgage and I had to be back in order to do it. And I just kept getting wait. And I'm like, why am I waiting?
Yeah.
What? Right. And then finally it was like, go now. And I'm like, okay. And I left, and there had been an accident, and I was still a bit in the lineup of like through the accident. So it was within that time period. And I just thought, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And then blessings and all, and protection on everybody who's involved in this and making sure that they're all okay. But, we don't always get that, right? We don't always see why we have to wait,
right.
or why we have to go, or why we get that push. But, honoring it when we get it is really, really important.
Yeah.
And I know that there have been times for me even where I haven't honored it and something happens, and it would be really easy in that moment to go, oh, look at me, I failed.
Yeah.
I didn't listen to my intuition. I screwed up. What's wrong with me? But again, it's a learning opportunity, right? It's just another moment to go, oh, look, that's what that meant. That's what I needed to understand. And so next time when I have that, I can understand that that's, what the experience is about.
Right. Yeah. And I think, we don't, when we don't listen to our intuition, I'm actually looking for a meme right now because I think I did one not long ago. I posted it about, it's one about my spirit guides sitting there rolling their eyes, and I've put this in front of her 3 times, 4 times, one of those things, right? And she's still going to do it anyway. That's what it brings to mind, is that meme, right? The one about us not listening to our I don't know, I can't find it anyway. I thought it was earlier. But yeah, that one about, we don't always listen to them, and I'm pretty sure my guides roll their eyes at me quite a bit. She's at it again.
But I don't necessarily believe that any failure is truly failure.
No, it's a learning, right?
Yeah. And so being really aware of what we tell ourselves about the experience, because that really makes a huge difference, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know,
And that's
when
the connection to the self-esteem that I was talking about, right?
Mhm.
And I had that card here. No, it's in the bottom. The self-esteem part, that's the connection. Because if we keep telling ourselves that failure is a bad thing, and yet we're here to learn, so we're going to fail, right? If we keep
Yeah.
telling ourselves that we're bad because we failed, it's really going to take a toll on that.
Mhm. Yeah.
When really we're good that we failed because we're supposed to learn.
Yeah. But when we get into that cycle where we're beating ourselves up, we're judging ourselves for it, we're judging everybody around us for it, we're really getting into that kind of defeatist mindset. You know, we have negativity bias about everything that's going on around us. And all of a sudden, we really are in failure.
Mm.
Because in that moment, we're giving up.
Yeah.
Right. And even then, at any moment, we could choose to change what we're looking at and be out of it.
Yeah.
Right. And so it never truly has to be the end.
Right. That's, you know, there's an interesting concept that it's kind of off topic, but the thought that, you know, we always think once we make a decision, we can't change our mind.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's an that we're supposed to make a decision and just stick with that decision. Well, that's not conducive to learning,
No.
right?
And we're evolving
Yeah.
and changing and anything, living.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think things evolve around us all the time, and we have to evolve with it, or we end up feeling very stagnant and stuck,
Yeah.
you know, which it happens to a lot of people. Probably it's happened to everybody, actually. I would guess that it's
Yeah, I
happened
don't
to
know anybody who
everybody.
hasn't had an experience like that at some point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, right, when we talk about failure, you know, because of the negative connotations around it, I don't think that we recognize that there's a quote. How did it go? At any point, you can decide this is not how your story is going to end.
Yes.
Right. And so, again, with this idea of failure, at any point, we can say, no, this isn't the end of my story. Right. And we can, you know, even there's times where, you know, I'll fail at something and go, okay, I really wanted that to happen, but I'm actually okay with it not. Right. And move on. And other times it's like, okay, no, I'm going to try this again. Right. Because I really am feeling pulled that it's my duty to at least try it one more time. Right. And then other times it's like, nope, we're going to keep on giving her for a while because they won't let up.
Yeah.
And there are
when you're meant to do something, guys, you're going to know, because it's just going to keep presenting itself, right? Something I read the other day, like, we never miss out on an opportunity that we're meant to have. And I think that's a fear for a lot of people, right? That we're going to miss out on something. I certainly have had that. You know, it's come up for me in various things. You're like, oh my gosh, I missed that opportunity. But if it wasn't meant for you, you didn't miss it. If it's meant for you and you didn't get there or whatever, then it will present itself again.
It will come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then on the flip side of that too is we hold on to things because we're afraid that another opportunity won't come, or that this is as good as it's going to be, or whatever. And we don't allow ourselves an opportunity to have something new.
Yeah.
Or different.
Well, that's that fear of change. Right. Which we've all faced at various times, right? Yeah. And sometimes that fear of change is also like like a lack of self-esteem. You don't think you're worthy of something better. And that plays into something like that as well. So, there's a lot of factors when we're looking at that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, and I think that it's important, putting it in perspective with what you were just saying about if something's meant for us versus if it's not, because we can hold on to something, but eventually if it's not meant for us, we won't be able to hold on anymore.
Yeah.
Right? And we can let something go and it will come back. And so, that piece about, why what is going on for me in this moment that's making me either hold or let go, right? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
And recognizing that it's all okay.
Yeah.
Because it's all experience, right? That's what we're here for. We're here to experience.
Yeah.
The good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. Like, we're meant to have experiences. That's it. We're not meant to say this one is a good one and this one's a bad one and this one's an okay one. And we're just meant to experience, right? And so it's easy to look at it and go, well, I'm doing the same things over and over and over again. And why aren't I learning from them? It's because you haven't released the judgment yet of the fact that you're just doing the same things over and over and over again.
Yeah. And we're so good at judging ourselves.
So good at judging ourselves.
And that's everybody, guys. Everybody. We all do it. It's that linear brain thing, right? We judge ourselves. We should ourselves to death, as I always say. We should do this. We should do that. We're shooting ourselves to death. Yep. It's just putting pressure on ourselves, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what are your? We have some viewers on right now. So share with us, guys. What are some of your things that you thought were failures, and they turned out to be blessings in disguise? What are those? Share with us some of those sort of instances. So, like, I know for me, even the fact that I'm doing this business, right? I left a job that was very high stress after a burnout, thinking I had failed because I couldn't handle the stress or whatever story I was telling myself, which that wasn't really the case, but that was the story I was telling myself. And now I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And I love what I do. So for me, that was a blessing in disguise, because I knew that, I would not necessarily have left it if there hadn't been something that came up, right, to change that. So those are the kinds of things that I'm talking about. So have you guys had that? What kind of thing have you had where that's concerned?
Well, I mean, I can go back through my entire life, failure after failure.
Wow.
Failure of different things that, I've done or tried that were not correct for me. So, like, again, bringing it back to like the human design side, right? I'm a projector. So recognition and invitation, not initiation, right? And so, even with places that I lived, I pushed for certain things and they were horrific experiences, right? But when I let go, I was invited to other experiences that were wonderful, right?
Yeah.
But it took doing it wrong to realize this is not for me.
Yeah.
Right? To help move me into a better understanding of what it actually is to live true to my strategy and my authority, which is something that, it takes failing to learn.
It does. Yeah. So I want to say hello to Monica. Hi, Monica. Thank you for joining us. It says Facebook user, but I got my thingy on here. And Annie shared a story with us, failing my nursing exam. I probably would have stayed where I was, but failing made me move. She passed and have a wonderful life in another location, and all fell into place after.
Oh, man, that sounds, I have goosebumps, Amy. That's wonderful.
Beautiful. Yeah, much love to you too, Monica. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. And I think that, until we come through the other side of it, we don't recognize the blessing right away,
That's right. Well,
right?
it's like it's in disguise, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a blessing in disguise. So we think that it's a negative, and that's that judgment that we have for it in the
Mm-hmm.
moment.
Well, and that's it. Like I think of, like a big, big, big one for me was after my divorce. I wanted to go back to the States, which is where I'm originally from, to be close to my family. And I love my family very much. But because of the kids and everything else, it didn't work out. And it was like, no, it's better to stay in Canada. I love it here. I would never want to move back. No offense to anybody in the States at all. I grew up there. My family is all still there. But for me and my experience, I'm meant to be here. And I wouldn't have known that on my own at that time. Right. And so that in the moment felt like, oh, this is awful. What am I going to do? How am I going to navigate this? But it was the greatest blessing to, be told, no, you're staying here. and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Well, I, for one, am glad you stayed.
I'm glad I stayed. Right. And I still love my family to bits and pieces, but they're all over the place. Like I wouldn't have been close to them. I'd be close to one at any given time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, to have made that move to be close, as much as I love all of them, like it wouldn't have been everybody all in the same place anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So yeah. And so we don't always know why things don't work out the way we want them to at the time. And so often it truly is for our benefit.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Anyone else have an experience like that? We'll see what they say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's an interesting concept when you think that we're here to learn. That is our main thing, right? Like you said, we're here to have experiences and learn. And so the only way we learn is to fail, right? It's just like children when they're learning to walk, they're going to fall.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, the reality is if every time we tried something, we got it right, we wouldn't actually know what we got right.
That's right, because it would just be.
Right. And so we wouldn't really learn very much from that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I know, I say this and I can hear my 3-line coming out, right? But it's like every time we make a mistake, every time we mess up, every time we have an error and go, ooh, that's not so right. It's like, oh, wow, guess what I just learned? I just learned that this doesn't work.
And he's like, how boring would that be? Mm-hmm.
Right? Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And Monica says, yes, I have passed through that too. And we learn from our mistakes. Absolutely.
Most definitely.
Absolutely.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I look back at my greatest failures and they have been the most incredible learning experiences. Right? And some of the people that are involved in that, even though at the time I thought were horrific, it's like they were amazing teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So again, when we look at how do we narrate it, right? How do we define these experiences for ourselves? And if we get caught up in the shadow side of it all,
Mm-hmm.
we don't move forward and we don't experience all of the benefit that can come from it.
Mm-hmm.
But if we can recognize that it's just something that we can look at, an experience that we can learn from, then we get to move forward into these beautiful understandings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty awesome experience being here overall, right? As long as we can stay out of the heaviness of the emotion. Because I'll tell you, there's days when I'm like, what are we doing here again? And it's all about the emotion. It's about that energy, that denser energy. If we can shift that, then it's a learning when it comes to failure, right? We feel failure, and then we take it personally. We take it like we're not good enough, and it really plays on the self-esteem thing and all of that. So if we can, I guess it's a matter of not personalizing it as much as we tend to.
Well, yeah, I mean, even talking about the heaviness of emotions, what makes emotions heavy? Our resistance to them,
Right.
our judging of them, our decision that we don't actually want to feel them. Right? That's what makes them heavy. The emotions themselves, they just are.
It's energy.
Right? They come and go like the clouds.
Yeah.
Right? Ebb and flow like the waves. They're here, they're gone, they're back again.
Yeah.
Right? And I love Thich Nhat Hanh talks about how we have every emotion within us at any given moment. Right? But we feel most the one that we pay attention to or that we give attention to. And so again, here we are going, sadness, I hate you. Why are you so horrible? I don't want to feel you. And joy is right there going, I'm still here.
Hello, I'm here. Yep.
Here too. You can still feel me too.
Yeah.
Right? And being able to have, peace and joy and those kind of things in our experience helps us navigate sadness in a way that isn't as heavy.
Yeah.
We still experience it, but again, Inside Out. Love that cartoon movie, right? Like, again, that idea that our emotions are not singular entities, and we have that ability to ebb and flow through them. And so if we look at even having, and I know people do this, where they look at an emotion, it's like, well, I feel sad, so I'm a failure. What?
That's true. Yeah, we do tend
You're human.
Yeah.
Right? We associate, right? Relational frame theory, here we go. We're associating arbitrarily these things that don't actually belong together. But that's what the mind does. And then we feel based on those associations.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what makes emotions heavy.
It's true. And Monica says the hardest part is forgiving ourselves. Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
That is, and the more we can do that, the more we find peace within.
Yeah.
And I think, I've talked about this before on the show, how I was in management positions. You're not allowed to cry. You're not supposed to cry. That's the thing. So that was, at least that was the story that I was telling myself. Whether that was what was the reality or not, I don't know. But that was the story I was telling me.
It's so true, though, that there's so many places out there where there are these like rules around emotions, and it just says so much about you if you have this emotion or that. Human.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We are, and we're human. We are like little bundles of energy, and that energy just moves around, and it changes and shifts, and sometimes it creates the emotional response. So I used to push my emotions down so much and not cry that when I did cry, I would have all these little dots under my eyes because I pushed it down so much. And now, now I just allow it to happen depending on the situation, but I acknowledge it in the moment and think, okay, maybe I can't cry right at this moment, although usually I end up doing it anyway. But, there are times when it's not appropriate. For instance, I do HR consulting, so there are times when you can't. But I acknowledge it and say, okay, I'm gonna deal with you later, right? Which is something I never did before. And so, but that's part of that. So I've had that failure feeling around crying when I wasn't supposed to. And I thought that I was a failure around that. And now I realize I'm just human. It's okay. Not a failure. I'm just human. And humans do that.
Emotional authority. So you've got to go through all the emotions.
I am an emotional authority. Yeah. So that is, when we realize that it's just part of who we are. And that's one of the values that I like about the human design. And, even things like the Mayan,
Yeah.
the Mayan glyph
Mayan
stuff.
oracle.
Yeah, the Mayan oracle glyph. Those ones too, like all of those sorts of things, right? The more we get to know ourselves, it helps us to step out of that judgment thing, right?
Yes.
So when I found out I was an emotional authority, I was like, okay, it's just who I am. It's like, I have brown hair. That's who I am. I have hazel eyes. Yes, that's who I am. So, when you step into it like that, and then you can start to, it's almost like a forgiveness, but it's more of an acceptance of who you are, and that's okay. You are who you are. We're all different, and celebrating the uniqueness in all of us.
Yeah.
And instead of seeing it as a failure, see it as a uniqueness.
Yeah. And a gift.
And a gift.
In so many ways.
And a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And a lesson.
So embrace those things that are perceived as failure.
Yes.
And make them stepping stones.
Beautiful.
Into a beautiful new becoming.
Yep. We had a comment about stepping stones. Let's bring that up.
Mm-hmm.
From Gerald. A stepping stone in growth.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here for. We're here to grow, evolve. At this particular time, ascend. Bring in more light.
Mm-hmm.
And support each other as we do it. Love and compassion to each and all. And that pretty much brings us to the end of our hour, folks. So thank you so much for joining us and adding your beautiful seeds of wisdom to the show. And we do have one question. We would like to know if you guys would like a show next Monday.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's Easter Monday. And Jen and I were talking about it. We're like, I don't know, we could. Do we want to do a show on Easter Monday? So let us know what you think. Okay? Put it in the comments. And if we don't do it Easter Monday, then we will be back the following week. Okay? So you can join us then. And we'll see you all. Thank you so much, lovely souls. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And Monica says thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful. We're so grateful to be able to do this and come on and have this connection with all of you and share love and energy with you all. So I'm Tanis Coughlin from the Twillow Lifestyle Community, Twillow Lifestyle Academy. You can reach me at all of these along the bottom and Facebook, right? So yeah, looking forward to seeing you again real soon. Jen, do you want to tell people where they can reach you?
I'm Jennifer Jurkofsky. You can reach me through Twillow Lifestyle. You can also reach me at myholisticself.com or myholisticselfcounseling.com or Facebook at Holistic Self Counseling. And yeah, it's been a pleasure and looking forward to next time.
Absolutely. So we'll see you either next Monday or the Monday after at 5 p.m. All right. Have an awesome time, guys. Just love each other. Show each other compassion. All right. Sending you all lots of love. Beautiful.